On September 2nd, Sony announced they will be doing another showcase this month to show what they have been working on. And it would be almost as long as that big show they did almost exactly 1 year ago, where they announced the price of the PlayStation 5 right before launch. Since then, honestly, yeah, there have been some exclusive releases, and there have been little tidbits about things like PSVR 2 not being announced, I guess was actually that announcement. But for the most part, honestly, things have been quiet in the Team Blue camp. Sony has been content to sit back and outsell the PS4 in aligned sales at 10 million plus PlayStation 5 sold so far, while the Xbox is also doing fairly well, being estimated at selling 6.5 million series consoles. Although this is an estimate, Xbox is apparently too busy working on games to be able to count. Joking aside, Xbox did finally announce Halo Infinite's release date on August 25th. And honestly, I don't think it's a coincidence that Sony announced a new showcase just 1 week after that. Xbox is finally getting one of those big games, frankly the biggest game in all of Xbox branding, Halo, out. And so now, if we're being honest, it's time for Sony to finally start hyping things up again. But what can you expect to see in this showcase on Thursday? Well, the first thing I'm going to confirm is that this does sound like a big show. And I don't just mean because it's like more than 20 or 30 minutes. It sounds like they have a lot more maybes than usual, that there's a lot of back and forth going on regarding which surprises to include and how much time some of the bigger games should get. They have quite a few games that haven't really leaked very much up until now, and they're not sure if they should show more than one of them in addition to the things you might expect. But let me get into more detail here. I will now confirm what I can confirm about what Sony's going to reveal. And most of this won't come as a surprise to many of you, but number one, God of War will get a gameplay reveal and possibly a release date. Now, I'm not told it will get a release date, but one thing that I want to stress in today's leak is that the game really was intended to launch Q3 2021. I say this because I keep seeing people all the way since when God of War 2 was originally announced that they just didn't believe it was coming out in 2021. I am telling you, the same sources that told me it was going to be revealed when it was going to be revealed that turned out to be correct are saying that no, they really did think this would launch in Q3. I'm not going to say exactly what the release date was because it could give people away, but it was targeted to release in late 2021. And because of that, it would not surprise me if they had to delay it, they had another firm release date they really intend to hit that they could confirm if they want to. Although I'm not 100% sure on if they would do this because Horizon's right around the corner, and they also have games like Stray coming out, which, like Gran Turismo, is being mentioned as a directly prominently showcased game in addition to maybe The Last of Us Factions. Now, I don't have anyone telling me 100% Factions will be shown, but it is one of the maybes. And I mean, if you ask me, it's just time to show this game. It's been way too long. It was originally going to be an add-on multiplayer experience to The Last of Us Part 2, just like it was in the first Last of Us, but eventually it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Some would say bloated, but they would say more feature-rich, and they've decided to make it its own full online game that's a standalone. Additionally, Call of Duty will be shown to market its upcoming release date. Again, didn't need a source to be able to guess that one. And there are a few surprise reveals being considered, but I cannot confirm which ones, and I'm not going to bother doing that. The fact is that it could be one of a dozen games that haven't been talked about up until now. If you look at the number of PlayStation studios and consider that most of the big ones have been divided up into at least 3 teams, yeah, there's a lot of games out there that Sony could at least tease right now, and I expect there to be a surprise or two in Thursday's show. It's whatever Sony wants to show. Could it be Infamous? Maybe. I don't know anything about that, though, personally, to be honest, and I don't want to retread ground with previous leaks that I've done for PlayStation or for Xbox. Although, I guess on that PlayStation note, I will say, guys, no, really, there is an MGS remake out there, but it's not up to me when it's teased, unveiled, or released. But it is, without giving much details, a mountain more evidence every time I check with sources that thing's really is out there being worked on. But will it be shown off on Thursday? I don't really think so, but it could, and so could about a dozen other games. But that's this week's show from PlayStation. What I actually want to talk about for the most part today is early information that I have about the PlayStation 5 Pro, and actually about a refreshed and upgraded Xbox Series console as well. But first, an ad from a sponsor. All right, Reese, your new yields are in. Let's see what the new Dog Engineer graphics processor can do. Do you have any skills that could use improving, like Reese here? Skillshare is then for you. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creatives looking to enhance their existing skills or people curious enough to explore new ones. Whether you're a professional creative or not, you are creative. Everyone is creative when they find the subject that sparks a passion in them. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and can easily follow wherever your creative passions take you. Personally, I think I could have benefited a while ago, and many people in 2021 certainly could, from some advice on how to successfully expand into multiple careers by Emma Gannon. There are many classes out there for all of you, and the first 1,000 Moore's Law is Dead subscribers to click the link in the description will get 1 free month of Skillshare so you can start exploring today carefree. Clicking on this link really helps the channel, and Skillshare really wants to help you. Use Skillshare today. So I've actually already confidently stated that I'm sure there will be console pro refreshes coming within 3 years on multiple podcasts up until now. And I even did an interview with True Trophies explaining and elaborating on what I know and what I'm willing to confirm. Actually, the funny thing is, when that interview came out, I actually started to get more details from a couple sources that weren't talking to me about this before, confirming that indeed there is a PlayStation 5 Pro coming in a similar time frame to when one came out after the original PS4 launch. And so I guess what I will add on to that interview is, no, I am now 100% sure of the PlayStation 5 Pro coming out, I would say by the end of 2023, but I would say for sure by the end of 2024. And the other thing that I'm really not clear on, though, yet is what it will be. It's just really too early to confirm the specs, and most people that I talk to actually disagree with me on what I think Sony should do. You see, most people think they should double the CU count to like 72 CUs, take some newer RDNA IP from later architectures that will be around, while they're designing this Pro console, and add Zen 4, up clock speeds, maybe get it to even 300 watts, and release a $600 or $700 console in 2023, maybe to market Sony's maybe then more prevalent 8K TVs. Although, you see, I don't know. I don't really know if I agree that anyone's gonna give a shit about 8K gaming. I'm gonna be completely honest. I mean, in fact, if I was Sony and I made an 8K console, I would mandate that devs use FSR or an equivalent technology with any game that's marketed as 8K, because most gamers don't seem to care if the resolution is much above 1440p. So I cannot imagine they would want you to waste like 50% performance on running a game in native 8K instead of FSR. And I just don't know that I see anyone even caring at all if a game is marketed as making use of your 8K television. Almost no one will own them, even in 2023, in my opinion. And in fact, this debate that I've been having with some of my sources about what Sony should do with the PS5 Pro, I mean, a lot of it just comes down to, well, if they want to make a big splash, it's got to be a huge upgrade. And I'm saying I don't know that it should actually be a big upgrade. People point to the PS4 Pro as being successful, and I go, well, not as much as you'd think. I mean, the PS4 Pro was successful, but for the entire life of the PlayStation 5, the slim or base model wildly outsold the Pro model. So if you're Sony, like if I was Sony and I was sitting there and I was like, it turns out that the base model actually outsold the Pro and a ratio of 3 or 4 or 5 to 1, despite the Pro just being an extra $100 to over double the performance. I would go, well, maybe upping price for more performance isn't really what the market wants, not most of the market. Maybe we should focus on maintaining or even lowering prices with our specs upgrade, which is kind of what I wonder if Sony should do, right? I mean, furthermore, 5 nanometer is going to cost a lot more than 7 nanometer, and it's going to offer a smaller boost this time around compared to going from 28 nanometer to 16 nanometer, which is what the PS4 to the PS4 Pro was. So you know you're going to have to spend more for lesser gains, and, well, actually the PS4 Pro, even so, was a smaller die than the PS4 base. So if that's true, I almost wonder, and this is my opinion, this part is not a leak, I almost wonder if Sony should simply go with a 36 compute unit design again, but just die shrink it to 5 nanometer, add new IP, and clock it faster because it's on 5 nanometer. Maybe keep 16 gigabytes of GDR6 to keep the cost low. Maybe just add a bit of Infinity Cache in Zen 3 or Zen 4 and faster GDR6. You know, maybe by 2023, if they launch something that seems pathetic, only 50% stronger than what we have now, that would be enough to at least top off the frame rates, top off the resolution, especially in games that use dynamic resolutions. You know, maybe instead of running at 1800p most of the time in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it actually runs closer to native 4K. And then you can maybe sell it still for $500 or maybe even less than $500 in 2023. And that would make a PS6 in hypothetically 2025, 2026 look even more impressive. You know, I don't know. From my perspective, I just can't help but think that maybe that's what Sony should consider doing. But that is 100% just speculation from me. And it is based on my knowledge that the base PS4 just wildly outsold the PS4 Pro, and that maybe you should just focus more on the low end this time around, especially with what's going on in PC gaming where the low end is being neglected. This is kind of an opening. Well, and it's also based on the fact that if you wanted a full 8K upgrade, I am told that you would need at least 72 compute units with RDNA 3 or better architecture technology, and it might even use more than 300 watts. So then you're talking about a $700 console. And the unfortunate thing is, the higher the price a console gets, the more you actually want to make a profit on each one sold, because the smaller the market is. The higher the price, the less it's about gaining market share, and the more it's about making sure you're not losing too much money on each one sold. So I don't know. Sony ultimately will probably do some design that's in between option A, the low-end one that I kind of want, and option B, the typical marketed as 8K, massive doubling or more of performance. But so just to be clear, I cannot confirm what the specs of the PlayStation 5 Pro will be yet, but I will as soon as possible. And what I can confirm, though, is that it is real and it is coming within a few years, probably late 2023, and that despite many people saying there's no point in this, you just gotta understand, Sony is outselling the PS4. The PS4 did not sell badly. They are not restricting supply. They're making as many as they can, and they're being bought up faster than the PS4 was. This is a temporary shortage. It will be over by 2023, and that's when Sony will want to make sure they stay competitive. It makes sense why they would do this, okay? But then, if Sony's planning to do things like this, someone might go, well then wait a second though, what the heck is Xbox going to do? And the fact is that Xbox, based on what I am told, is maybe doing a somewhat different strategy than a lot of people might have expected. And I am actually going to just jump right into it. It kind of seems like Microsoft is somewhat doing what I think should be done to target an opening in the market. And this comes from someone that I'm very sure knows what they are talking about. Microsoft is targeting at least one refresh for late 2022, and the priority, as far as I am told, is on releasing a higher spec Xbox Series S console. Now, Xbox sees itself as a software as a service company long term, and right now the Xbox Series S is a very high Game Pass attach rate. Supposedly, Microsoft regards truly successful sales as the number of people that not only buy an Xbox, but also buy Game Pass. These are seen as long-term customers, and in addition to that, a lot of Series S's are in houses that primarily game on PC or PlayStation 5. So they see making their lower end SKU as good as possible is something that can address a greater market, because it might not just be someone's main console, it might also be a secondary console in a similar way to how the Wii was viewed. Now, they want to get the new Xbox Series S to $350 or less in late 2022 and drop the previous Xbox Series S to $190 to $250. Now, at first, this made me take a pause because, well, it takes time to design new APUs, and I thought it was weird that they would keep selling the original Series S at a lower price. Not just because the marketing is going to become, well, a complete flustercuck, to put it mildly. I mean, like what the Xbox Series S 2020, Series S 2022, Xbox Series X, like it might get confusing, but also because why wouldn't they just entirely replace the previous one? And then I thought about it. If this is being rushed out to the end of 2022, then I don't think they actually even really need to design a new APU. I think it's entirely plausible that what Microsoft is planning to do is transition to 6 nanometer, maybe like people are rumoring the PlayStation 5 may transition to for the Slim, and use this 6 nanometer volume, not really for shrinking the Series X, but the Series S first, and then just give it the full 24 compute units at higher clock speeds. You see, based on what I am told, the original Series S design, which had 20% of its compute units disabled, which is a lot, well, it had that because they weren't sure what the yields would be on TSMC 7 nanometer years before it was manufactured. They just had to plan for disabling 4 compute units with an RDNA-based console. And in doing that, they maybe started to manufacture and went, yeah, we don't actually need to disable that many of these. And 6 nanometer has even better yields. Maybe they're looking at this and going, yeah, you know what? We can just transition the Series S to 6 nanometer first because we can manufacture far more dies on 6 nanometer, especially with the greater density than we could the Series X. And if we do, let's just not disable the compute units anymore. Let's clock it a bit faster. I don't know why it's clocked so low, to be entirely honest. Give it faster memory. They could just, honestly, with the same design, plausibly make a console that's 20-50% better, marketed as 6 teraflops, and use that to undercut the PlayStation 5 Slim that I believe will likely be launching at the end of 2022. Now, I can't be sure this is what they were doing, but I am sure of this source, and I am sure they want to release a stronger Xbox Series S in 2022. That's what I suspect they are doing. And heck, even if they had to disable some yields, I would guess what they're going to do is on Black Friday 2022, they just sell the original Series S consoles at a reduced price to get rid of them. And then every now and then they put a few disabled 6 nanometer new edition dies at the old spec in a cheaper version in limited numbers. You see, it actually makes a lot of sense why they might do that. And frankly, I think it's a brilliant way to service a market that well, let's be honest, that PC gaming is entirely ignoring. Anyways, back to the leak slide. Like I said, I believe they are doing this to undercut the PlayStation 5 Slim. The PlayStation 5 currently has an advantage in that they can manufacture more PlayStation 5s with similar performance to the Series X because of its smaller die size with faster clocks instead of more compute units, that they're going to maybe try to do this with the Series S on 6 nanometer to try to make up for some of that volume. Everything that's made sells right now. It just makes a ton of sense why they would focus on a smaller one more people can buy. Well, there are capacity problems. And finally, that there is a Series X refresh coming, everybody. It's just, this is not the priority. It's probably coming at or just after the PS5 Pro release. So, in conclusion, there is a Series X refresh coming, but before it, there is a Series S refresh coming, according to my sources. And then there is also a PlayStation 5 Pro coming. They are not coming right now during the shortages. They should start releasing when the shortages are easing up. And this is Sony and Microsoft's, well, strategy to staying competitive once the shortages are not the bottleneck anymore. Once competition, let's be honest, actually begins. It's hard to say there's really much competition in gaming hardware right now when everything put on a shelf sells instantly. And what I find really interesting, though, just to be clear, is how I might see Xbox and PlayStation servicing a market better this generation than PC gaming. You see, back in the last generation of consoles, Sony just focused on releasing a stronger console, filling up the die space on a new node at the original price of the base PS4, $400. And actually, Microsoft did the same with the One X. The Xbox One X launched for $500, the same price as the base Xbox One with Kinect. Yes, I know it had Kinect, but that was the price point. And now I just can't help but wonder if when they look at the shortages and capacity concerns, when they look at how PC gaming is becoming more, I guess the nice way to put it would be boutique again, like it was in the 90s and early 2000s, then maybe it's time for the console makers to go, let's actually service what people really care about, a minimum of performance. Let's top it off a bit and then, well, make sure it's cheap enough for people to get because they're not getting any cheap PCs right now. And, well, most people don't seem to care about gaming above 1440p, so yeah, that's a good strategy, I think, focusing on servicing that 1440p market better instead of wildly trying to market 8K. Although, again, I can't confirm that's not what Sony's going to try to do. And I can't confirm that Microsoft's just doing the Series S first tactfully and then going for 8K gaming with the Series X refresh. Maybe they are. I don't know. I can't confirm yet, but you can bet that I will be following this closely. What I can confirm now is just that these Pro consoles are coming and that Microsoft seems to be focusing on the S first. And also, of course, those PlayStation 5 exclusives that I talked about in the beginning of this video. Outside of that, you're just going to have to wait for another video, and I do believe I will have more information coming somewhat soon, possibly, on this front. But yeah, if you want to see that upcoming video, make sure you're subscribed to the Moore's Law Z YouTube channel. Ring the bell button so that notification actually pops up. And, you know, if you have the extra money, consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can ask me questions, guest questions, get exclusive podcasts every week. This week, we have a Nintendo business model and hardware design episode coming out only for patrons. And, well, if you can't afford that, though, just please consider sharing our videos. And as always, thank you for watching.